Hello everyone, and welcome to another video with me, Umber Rays. And I've said at the beginning of this week that I was going to be making this video, and here I am at the end of the week, just because I've been making a fair amount of videos, been busy this week. For anybody who said, Umber hasn't been making enough Wotv videos lately. News, I guess I made a ton this week. Alright, so, EX job system. I have made no secret my general feelings about how the EX job system has been handled over the last little. Not because I think in general that it couldn't have been done particularly well, but because I feel like at this point, given the everything that's happened on the JP side, I think that it has been pretty well, colossally just not done well, and so. That's what this video is about. This video is about talking about the aspects of the EX job system and what I think is done wrong. And some examples, let's be honest, because I've been playing it more lately, Princess Connect is one of the ones that I'm actually going to refer to as doing an EX job system or like system well. Heck, we could even talk about Brave Exvius as a kind of better example. But overall, we're going to be talking about the EX system, so let's get right. Alright, so what is the EX system? Let's start with the basics for anyone who is not overly familiar with it yet. The EX system is a way to increase the strength of your characters beyond what they could previously do. Before, level 99 was the highest level, and at the 1-year anniversary of Wotv, they decided, you know what? We need to add in another way to monetize the game. Because that's essentially what the EX system really came out to being to me as a little bit. And I don't think the globalers are going to experience this as much as JP did, mainly because I think that the producers are a little more scared, since the JP side has kind of been revolting a little bit lately to do with how the game is costing, how much it's costing, and how well it's been feeling on the JP side. It has not been an overall positive experience when even your whales, the people who spend a ton of money on your game, say, whoa, hold up, this game is just getting way too expensive. That's usually a bad sign. So that's what we're going to be talking about, money-wise, balance-wise, new unit-wise, and appearance-wise. 4 ways that I think that this game has really messed up. And to be fair, balance and new unit is kind of the same thing, but I do think it is worth mentioning just how important it is in terms of new units versus old units. So first of all, money-wise, Wotv is, from the very get-go, was not a game that was seen by a lot of players as being an incredibly cheap game. It already has the prestige of being a Final Fantasy title, and, much in the same way as Atlas games come out and have what fans and gamers and people who enjoy video games just know as the Atlas tax, basically, that their games are slightly more expensive than other games. It's kind of just accepted and paid for. And in the same way, it's kind of the same with Final Fantasy. It's got this legacy to it. A lot of people love it just based on the title alone. A lot of people are willing to try Final Fantasy games just because it has the Final Fantasy title. And a free-to-play game, yeah, sure, why not? Free to start is a better term at this point in gacha's lifespans than anything. But taking a look at money-wise, Wotv was, for the first year, considered to be relatively expensive by a fair amount of people, and a lot of people dropped the game in the first year. And quite rightly so. It is an expensive game. I mean, it's not just getting a character out of a gacha, which is something that Brave Exvius was for the first little bit. And, it could end up being it, but once you got the character, you had everything, you could just kind of go and be done. And with Wotv, well, we have the shard system, and the shard system is for, it's not as generous as Taga in some aspects, since Taga has the elemental system, and I do believe it has the spark system, where if you have enough of a character shards, you can just character. Still, at this point, almost 1.5 years in on the JP side, and that just doesn't exist. So There you go. Money wise, it was already, a little bit expensive because some characters would end up being limited. Some characters you wanted to get up to their max level so you could get their TMR or potentially use them a little bit better in featured content, which would give bonuses. There was a lot of reason to be tempted into, raising characters a fair amount. And 600 shards is not a small amount in this game. If you just take a look at getting the character and then just slow farming the shards for that character before they get to 79, that's 240 shards, an extra 360 well in development, or well along the way. It was supposed to be a Star Wars reference, but anyway. Honestly, it was already a pretty expensive game, but one of the things that felt like Wotv would be okay in the long run in the first year was the fact that, well, you could probably use these characters for a long period of time. There wasn't a ton of power creep. It doesn't feel like there was that much of a change in terms of power, but that kind of got thrown out the window at the 1-year anniversary when we found out, hey, guess what? EX system exists. You're going to need 400 more shards to get up to job level 25. But let's be honest, it does feel like the tip of the iceberg. For anybody with any kind of foresight, I mean, this is probably not the end. There are 3 jobs total. You could easily start making a job level 25 for each of the 3, or go up to job level 30 for these characters. Why not? So money-wise, you essentially almost doubled the cost on the on just how much these units ended up being. And that was expensive, with the potential that from now on they could also increase the cost a lot more. Basically, Wotv was already an expensive game, and it feels even more expensive now. The only thing that's kind of changed more recently, at least more so on the global side, is that it feels like they're being slightly more generous because the JP side has had more pushback against it, and they don't want that same kind of thing. Global is a much bigger market. It can potentially attract more customers, so losing those customers is probably not a good idea, because the JP side is already in a state that is not that great. So yeah, I money-wise, I just felt that the EX system really worked just very hard to try and make the game more expensive, and it doesn't feel like there's been a amount of stuff given out to really make it free, because it's not just that. You also have to farm more, you need more job points, you need more awakening materials. There are a lot more costs than just the extra 400 shards. So EX has just kind of made a grindier and expensive game already. Moving on, balance wise, this is the one that I think is the biggest drop of the ball in terms of the EX job system. Why am I talking about it in the middle? I don't know, to keep you invested in listening. The thing was, from the very beginning, we had Yuna, Titus, and Orin, who all got their EXs from the very get-go, but they were already brand new units with newer kits, and that made them incredibly powerful, and way more powerful than the older units, such as, I don't know, off the top of my head, Old, Stern, and whatnot. And that the general pushback that I keep getting from other players of the game is the idea that it's like, well, Umbra, they're still good. Yes, they are still good, but they were a fair amount lesser good than the newer units that were coming out, because Stern was nowhere near as good as Yuna was. Slightly different units, but even Titus and Orin were much, much better because their kits were more developed, because they had newer jobs. It's not just it's not just like stats that are a real problem. Newer jobs, exclusive jobs for units, have newly built abilities and newly programmed abilities that can work better, that can synergize better. Like, you look at Yuna, she is just such a strong synergetic unit that is just really good. And I feel like there could have been a better balance, because you look at, and this comes in that example, Princess Connect. Princess Connect makes some of its original units 6-star, and that gives them a major power boost. You take a look at some of the original units in the game, they are some of the current 3 years into that game's lifespan, strongest units in the game, which is amazing. And that's a hell of a payoff for investing in a character for a long period of time, and that's great. That's probably how these systems should work: rebalancing old characters, potentially giving people a way to spend on old characters they like as an extra income resource. But the problem is, as soon as you start making newer units as well get the exact same treatment of just being like, boom, 6-star immediately, it kind of just shows that the power level, like there isn't really a ton of incentive for developing older units other than I like them and they might be potentially good, or at least, pretty good compared to the, in which case you're sinking resources in, but you should probably just be sinking resources into newer units as well. Balance wise, it has been shown recently on the JP side that, well, a lot of the newer units are considerably more powerful. Yuna is considerably more powerful than a lot of the old EX units. Lord Mont is definitely more powerful. Black Witch Helena is insanely powerful. So yeah, I have to say that in terms of balancing the game, they've created this problem where now there's this, they gave a little bit of a power spike to the older units to kind of catch them up to some of the newer units, but then they immediately gave the EXs to new units, and they shouldn't have done that. There's enough want for new units anyway, and the new units are pretty strong even without getting their EX jobs, and they could have got their EX jobs much later, and then it would have once again caused more of a reason to, invest again in them, because they would get just a little bit up closer to the newer units. People want new units. People want new cool characters that they can use and enjoy, whereas they also want their old favorite units. But as soon as you start increasing the old units power up by a little bit, but the newer units are just so strong and their kits work so well, you kind of immediately cut out that the reason for the old units. So I don't think that was very well planned. If you wanted to rebalance old units to new units, you didn't really do it, and I feel like it could have just been done better, and it probably would have made more money overall. But I don't know, I guess they wanted to rush it out and put it on everybody, or at least all the new units as well as all the old units. And that is basically the new unit problem wise as well. The new units are just so much better. Their kits are more developed, and I've said this already. It's just, when a lot of EXs come out right now on the JP side, from my experience, if I get the new unit, I'm probably just going to start developing the new unit because they are essentially better by a considerable amount. If you were to, for instance, say Ildira versus Black Witch Helena, I would put all my resources into Black Witch Helena, not just because she's a double cost unit, but her new kit is way better than Ildira. She does way more stuff and does it way better. Even if she was a single cost unit, I still think that she would end up being way better than Ildira by a lot. So yeah, I just don't think that that was particularly done well. And I don't think that new units should have gotten their EX for the first little while, if EXs were ever even. And last is appearance. And appearance is kind of twofold, because I want to talk about two specific things. A feeling of progression and a feeling of accomplishment in terms of appearance. One of the things I've harped on in my streams, and I'm going to harp now in a YouTube video, the fact that EX units don't get any kind of visual upgrade whatsoever. And I think that's incredibly disappointing and incredibly lackluster for something that you're making people pay more money for. Really, if you look at the difference between EX units and regular units, there's no way to tell the difference. They look the exact same, and that kind of sucks. One thing that Brave Exvius did, even if they went really, really crazy with the auras, was that auras around the characters kind of showed that they were different, that they were a higher level, that something had changed. And that's the thing. EXs don't feel special, really. They're feeling pretty mundane. They're just feeling like something that the JP side has to do with characters, you know, to be competitive, because everyone's now in a point on the JP side where teams of 120s are just very, very, very common. It would be nice to see a little bit of like your progression, that you've actually made a difference. It is a thing, and I don't think it needed to be anything crazy either. I think it could have been a very subtle aura around the characters. It could have been that the character has an opportunity to use their artwork weapon. If you take a look at the weapons, these weapons usually are really awesome and they look really great. What a great gift, just as a weapon skin. Very clearly they are designed. Some of the TMR or some of the artwork weapons are even in the code of the game. Why not do it? Why not just put that skin in as some kind of benefit or reward? A lot of these weapons look amazing. Whether if it's a time related thing and they don't have enough developer related thing, then just put a general aura around the character, something to show that the character has obtained a higher level, that something has entered a state of change besides the stats. If it isn't a developer related thing, if it's just a lazy thing, that's just inexcusable, and I think you should have done the weapons, because a lot of the weapons in this game would have looked really great on characters with EXs. There should have been some visual change. But last, appearance also has one other thing, which is the generosity of this game. Since the 1 year anniversary, since EX jobs have appeared on the JP side, there have been more free polls with better guarantees, and there have been generally more generous banners. Well, now I don't think that's bad in terms of rewarding people who are paying money in terms of this, but EXs have this really bad appearance in the community where it seems like the game just got more expensive, and that's true. It did. But the game also got more generous, but the generosity is just being offset. Like, the exact math of how much more expensive the game is with EXs is kind of a little bit hard to figure out, just because if you look at it, we have banners like this where it's like 5 URs and 5 rerolls. Wow, there's a lot of chances to get maybe something I want off of this banner. That's great, kind of thing. You know, more free polls more often with guaranteed URs, but it doesn't balance out the amount of extra resources you need. It doesn't balance out the amount of extra farming you need in that sense. So the game is trying to overall appear like it's giving more free stuff, like with selection quests where we're getting free characters, and we're getting characters like Cowl or Moraga who are appearing free, but requires so much investment, requires so much, and honestly, it feels like, well, I mean, we're already paying more for some of the stuff, so this new stuff isn't exactly free. We just kind of paid for it. I don't know. Overall, I think that the EX system could have been better implemented, and I think it should have been implemented in a very subtle and reduced way, only on old characters, because new characters didn't need the EX, and they could have still been really powerful and maintained a similar power level with just new units being still really good, but more utility because their kits are better designed, and eventually they would get their EXs. So, but the system that has been made in the game, where it's just like, well, everything gets, all the new units get it, and then all of the old units too, minus some, like, just having reviewed a whole bunch of the old EXs, just some of them feel so uninspired, so tacked on, and just something to do, but no actual. It doesn't feel good, in my opinion. And so with Global entering in a new phase where EXs are there as well, and the Global anniversary being more generous than the JP anniversary, these feelings might not be shared. And one thing for the Globalers who do make it this far in the video, for all of my chatter, you know, remember that you guys are in the 1-year anniversary when everything is all sunshine and roses, free stuff and login bonuses and yay, happiness. But there will come a time after when the units start getting more expensive, and what approach is Gumi going to take to that? Are they going to follow more in tow with the JP side, or are they going to make it more generous, in which case globalers may not have as much of an issue, but I still think that this is poorly and could have been. That's my opinion, and as always, you are welcome to have your own opinions on this as well, but something to say is that my YouTube video, I get to say what I about. And yeah, EX system, don't think it was needed in the first year. Maybe 1.5 years would have been more appropriate, but just to refresh a lot of old units, and I would have preferred it also if a lot of that development time maybe went into making more content for this game. But yeah, all right, or making the content a little more varied and different. So that's all for this video. I think I blabbed enough. Let me know what you think of the EX system overall, and whether any of these points you think are valid, or I just very clearly at the second one and maybe the first. All right, so thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.